good friend for many years, kind of a paternal figure throughout the street performers community in my sort of Jungian state as the people we chat with. Really nice to have you on. Hello, Dave.
Hello. How are you? Oh, God. I'm fine.
You okay?
I was channeling Norman wisdom.
Fair enough. I think it worked quite well. So, Dave, just for people who don't know, can you say a little bit about yourself, about the work that you've done over the years? A little bit of context?
A little bit of context. I'm an old school street performer, which means that, I don't know, my first street shows were back in like 1978 with a unicycle and three balls. Covent Garden, first show was about 1983. Yeah, and I'm still going. I've done lots of things and travelled lots of places, but I'm far more community based than I didn't do the international turn up on every pitch in the world, do big hats thing.
Yeah.
I did establish in communities. I like little back of the outback places that nobody else is working.
Yeah, well, I can empathise. I really love doing places like Canterbury, for example. Where I do think they do get shows going through there fairly regularly.
I'm not getting emotional. I just got something in my eye as I was mucking about.
You can get emotional if you like. There's a forum for that here. Yeah, I like the fact that when you work there and you do something that's a little different than what they've seen, and most people have seen musicians, or they'll see one guy standing there juggling without a crowd. They seem to be more the local guys. So when you go there, it's like there's something special happening. These little provincial places really appreciate your attendance.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm trying. I feel like I'm too low, and I.
Especially with the way I'm positioned here. You are.
Yeah. I'm trying to get in the center of the screen, but I know.
let me do this. Maybe this will make you. Does that make you feel better?
No, I want to be there. You see, but I can't get that there without. I'm gonna keep talking, and I'll keep mucking about.
No worries.
Right.
So
I can still hear you.
Yeah, no worries, mate. So working Canterbury is really fun. Working Cambridge and all the other little provincial places, the smaller market towns. I've often thought in the boat I'd like to go around and do all these small towns, just travelling from town to town. The life of the old performer, hundreds of years ago when people didn't have the ability to zip about everywhere very easily. You would travel with your home and your show, your horse and cart or whatever. Yeah.
Sorted it. You would.
Yeah. Which I assume you're doing now. Is this from the van at the moment?
Yeah, I'm still in the motorhome. I kind of moved out of my apartment with a view to relocating somewhere else in Europe, and then that hasn't happened for various reasons, and now I'm caught up in all of this madness. So.
Yeah, how are you doing with the quarantine? Just to quickly get off street performance subject, just for a very brief moment, being in the van.
I'm very lucky because I'm actually here in my workshop. I've got a double garage in Chester.
Oh wow!
Which is all my. I mean, behind me is currently, for people that don't know, I'm less of a circle show and more. I do a walk by with a puppet that plays the drums. So this is the bicycle with the puppet, and behind that is a Morris Minor pickup truck. But one day I will get round to renovating, and all my other worldly possessions. So, and there's a little yard out here which Pepe the dog can run around in.
Pepe.
And he's sat in the sun out there somewhere. He won't come in yet because it's still warm out there. He's a Spanish dog. He'll always find the sun.
Well, mine's the same. He wants to be outside all the time.
Yeah. How is he?
He's really good. He's really good. I think he's taken quite well to quarantine because being on the boat, where I was before, it's pretty crap. As in Broadway Market, very narrow pathways. You can't let the dog off to run around. But I moved down to Mile End now, where there's huge grassy verges where everybody's walking their dog. There's a constant flow of dogs because what the fuck are you going to do right now? You stay at home, you watch telly.
I saw a meme the other day that said dogs have got no idea what's going on, but they're loving it.
yeah, they're like, oh, everyone's suddenly staying around.
At home, giving me attention. I'm getting 3 walks a day.
It's like Christmas.
It's absolutely. Yeah, so this is a saving grace. I come here, my motorhomes, the traffic wardens have stopped working, so they're certainly not in town. So I'm a few hundred yards away, and I get to just walk here and do jobs and fix things.
Excellent. Well, I'm sorry to inform you, in London, the traffic wardens are working. I've seen them out. Just interested about this. So when you go and perform in a different town, you're taking a van with you. You stay in the van.
Yeah.
Is that problematic parking up? Do you have lots of issues?
No, but I'm experienced at it, and I have a little code.
Okay.
You know, I do.
So let's hear it.
I do a lot of on-street parking. I tend not to park in the same place for more than 2 nights at once. I don't park directly outside residential houses' windows so that people are getting up in the morning and going, "Who's that?" And I'm in a motorhome. I'm not in an, you know, I've done my time in old hippie buses and or white
transits.
Vans. I'm in a motorhome, so I kind of look like it's a motorhome. It'll be gone.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
And I'm sure when they look at you, they see you're an upstanding member of the community. You know, they probably thought, "Oh, well,
I'm not sure of that."
Well, I'm not saying you are. I said you appeared to be.
No, I think they probably look at me and go, "Oh, look at that sad old man."
Well,
still
the points aren't exclusive.
Still busking at his age, you know.
I think it's honourable. You know, it is most honourable. But we love what we do. We build around being in public and getting love from people. And why the fuck would you arbitrarily want to stop doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm very happy with what I do.
So I think this is a natural point to ask about the progression of your career. Would you like to talk about how you changed and advanced from the embryonic beginnings right through to now in the kind of the more puppet show work you do, the let's call it the kind of semi-retirement show, you know?
Okay. Semi-retirement. I like that. Yes. Semi-retirement. Yeah, well, I mean, I started off, you know, back in the day, back in the late 70s and early 80s, it was all new and exciting. There was no kind of format to street shows and what we did. I mean, I'm from Cardiff originally, and my first shows, I mean, we're talking about, you know, towns just being pedestrianised. I mean, but I used to catch a bus as a kid from the street that you know, only 3 or 4 years later I was doing street shows in. And I literally, you just go and people would stop and watch because they weren't kind of used to it. They didn't kind of have the...
Yeah. Is it indicative of a trend at the time? Was there a thing in society where when the streets were being paved, people were pushing out into public squares to try and experience stuff? Was that an influence on the success that it seems to have of all the work at the time?
I think it has to go hand in hand. If you look at the growth of street entertainment, you know, I mean, that back then people would stop and go, "Oh my God, look at that! That man's juggling. That's phenomenal. I've never seen that before live." You know, whereas now you don't get quite the same reaction as a juggler. But,
well, I suppose the collapse of the collapse of music. Sorry to interrupt. You had the collapse of the working men's clubs the generation before. So maybe the parents talked about these things and the things left. Wasn't the generation before when television really pushed out working men's clubs from being this?
Well, yeah, maybe more kind of variety. I think that was still going in the 70s and 80s. I think, yeah. I mean, these are Andre Vincent questions as to when variety was killed by television. But yeah, and I think I mean, when I learned to unicycle in 1978, and back then it was kind of frowned upon to have those kind of skills. If by this like traditional circus, you weren't meant to know how to do that unless you were from a circus family, and there was a good deal of hostility from traditional circus. But now, you know, the way that it's gone, you can buy 3 juggling balls in a Tesco's, you know.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, and the accessibility of circus as an art form. But of course, the other thing is back then. I mean, Covent Garden in the early '80s there was everything going on there. It was not nearly as formulaic as it tends to be now in terms of how you build the crowd, how you manage the crowd, how you build it to a peak, and then how you ask for money down to how much money you ask for, and then do it and then collect the money. We were all kind of working it out. good and bad. I mean, people like Nick Nicholas were way ahead of the game.
Do you think that the audiences were more forgiving because of that? Do you think if you went and did the style of work, the experimentation that was done then now, that it would work the same as it did then? You know, obviously, if you contextually made it function now, it's not the context not making it work. It's the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, well, there's two things to put into that. The first thing is I never said it worked. I said that's what we were all doing.
Okay, I suppose. Well, this is the interesting. We only hear the interesting things from generations past.
There's some things that, you know, there were people that were doing some really, you look back at it and you're going, yeah, that was really kind of off the wall radical stuff. But, you know, they were struggling to make a living. You know, it was the people on the tall unicycles juggling the fire were the people that were making a better living, which is kind of why they have prevailed, you know. And I have to hold my hands up and go, I mean, I started as a unicyclist. As a kid, I was into bicycles, and I was a bit of an extrovert because I wasn't that academic. So performing was a natural kind of, and learning to, you know, having a skill that made me stand out, you know, to go and perform that was the next obvious route. So then,
it all seems to slot together.
And then, as you start doing street shows, you realise that the taller, the further off the ground you are, the more people can see you, which means the bigger your audience is, which means potentially the bigger your hat is, you know. So, and add in danger. So yeah, my circle show, I was a tall unicycle fire juggler.
And so, how did you get there? How quick was the transition to get there? Were you juggling one year and then the next year you were doing a tall unicycle show, or?
Well, I used to actually eat fire on the unicycle, and I used to actually. I had a kind of a 5-foot giraffe DM unicycle. It's no more than 10 feet from me. There it is. I still have it.
Wow.
Because I never throw anything away. But I had a unicycle, and I could juggle balls, but I couldn't juggle clubs. So I used to finish the show by doing fire eating on the unicycle. And I used to say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the only person tacky enough to do fire eating on a unicycle. Yes, I will.
Yeah,
actually,
wicked.
In the first shows that I did that, I used to ride the unicycle and juggle, and then I'd get down and finish on fire eating. And it was actually Nick Nicholas in Covent Garden in the 80s who went, why don't you stay up on the unicycle, because more people can see you doing the fire? And it was like, that's a brilliant idea. Why don't I do that?
Yes, yeah. And sometimes it's really simple stuff that people see. You know, people can see something that you can't see at the time.
But Nick is one of those people that's always he loves street shows, and he's always supportive of other performers when they were coming through.
I've heard the story. You know, Tony Roberts talks about it a lot. The reason basically he's doing street shows now is because of the sport Nick gave him. You know,
absolutely, yeah.
So you're doing your unicycle. You're in Covent Garden.
So I'm doing unicycle Covent Garden. The other thing that happened at that time, there was lots of collaborations. There were lots of people going, well, should we do a double? Do you want to do a show? And you just kind of go out, you just make it up, and you'd go out. And I worked with Pete Melnicek quite a bit, doing double stuff. And there was an act that I was proud to be involved with called The Florists, that was that came out of just playing. Yeah. So this was Sean Gandini, a fantastic juggler.
Yeah, would I be fair in saying one of the better jugglers, respected at least for juggling in the world?
I would think that would be fair. Yes.
Yeah.
He's certainly. I mean, the direction that he's taken his work, and with him and Katya doing the choreographed discipline. Yeah,
this kind of almost
dance-based
performance art kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I mean, fantastic stuff. But at that time, I think he'd done some work with Rara Zoo and was between shows and came to Covent Garden and was doing a juggling show. And my friend John Feely said, do you want to do a double? Because people played. So him and John were working together. And I was doing my unicycle act. I was just in the draw, going on the list, doing my show. But they knew that I'm a percussionist. I play congas. Yeah. And they knew that I played congas. And they came to me and they said, would you do a guest spot in our show? So at the end, Sean will do a fire juggle routine, but could you come and play congas for it? And it was so classy because they'd done a whole kind of half-hour, 40-minute show, but at the end they bring out a live musician as a guest, you know, which was classy. And I used to, and it just took it to that next level of not being a street show,
not being just a street show. But this is the thing: I've seen loads of videos, and I've seen a few European acts doing this, where you get the meshing up of the musical performance and the live performance, the physical performance. And so you'll get things like the best example I give is the Cyclown Circus, which was this amorphic group of people that traveled around on tour bicycles like the one I got. And what they'd do is they had a cellist, a guitarist, and a lady who played violin. They'd set the tour bikes up like this, put a slack line in between the tour bikes. So, you know, you've got a little gap. She'd be on top of the bitty rope while playing violin. And they do these different performances, choreography with this stuff. And I was blown away with it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And then you look at our queuing pitch where it's, you know, the next one act goes on to do this, you know, essentially the same skeleton as most other acts. And it's a bit disappointing.
What I mourn is is how everything, when you work on a pitch where lots of people are working, the creativity becomes time bound, because you got another, it's 45 minutes or 40 minutes, and you've got a load of people behind you waiting to do. So one of the most joyful things about the street is being able to explore those things that come out of nowhere that you weren't expecting, that you go off script and you go into, and it lessens the ability to do that, because you're going, damn, I can't pursue this, even though it's really funny, because if I overrun, I'll be banned for tomorrow or something. And there has to be a fine line. What we used to do, so the florists, what we used to do, because it started with just Sean and John, and then I'd come and do a guest spot, and then that built up to doing. I'd play at the start, because nobody used amps in those days. There was no, Shandy would use an amp because he's a dancer. A dancer would use an amp because they'd need backing music. But nobody doing a circle show would play music to get a crowd or use a microphone in order to communicate with the crowd. You didn't do it. Yeah. And so I would play.
With this, do you think this is because of access? Because it's so much more difficult to find a microphone and an amp, or is it just because people didn't feel the need?
I think the people didn't feel the need. You know, it was one more thing to carry. It didn't necessarily bring that much more to the show. And maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I really don't think I do. I don't. Certainly microphones. Maybe people played music at the start of the show. But no, I remember, because I remember in Edinburgh. I remember working Edinburgh right up until the 90s, where when somebody turned up with an amplifier playing music, they stood out, and they were always too loud, and it was like, no, you're killing the rest of the pitch. And either Sam Schofield or me would go down and try and sort them out, turn them down. But so
interesting then.
I'd play congas at the start.
Yeah.
I'd play congas at the start and build the crowd. And then one day, Mark Digby, who also worked with Rara Zoo, was just walking through Covent Garden, and John and Sean said, do you want to do a guest spot? Come and do some acrobatics. And he had such fun that he came back the next day, and we ended up working as a four-piece. But what we'd do is we'd take a show at about 5:30 in the afternoon, and then bounce everybody in front of us, behind us on the list, in front of us, so that we'd wait until everybody had worked, and then we'd go out at 7 o'clock, and we'd do 2 hours. You've frozen. Am I still with you? It's very weird. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah. So carry on.
So we'd go out, because there was nobody waiting to work behind us. We'd go out and do 2 hours, you know, and work off. And by the time we were finishing the show with the fire, it was almost dark. Really gave it a presence.
Yeah, and I think there's still possibility to do that in Covent Garden.
When everything was different.
Yeah, yeah. But it definitely seems like there was more of a desire for culture in Covent Garden rather than, and it's hard to say because, you know, the good things live, the bad things die in terms of the memory. Can you hear me, Dave? Am I coming through okay?
Yeah. I can. We had a little bit of a glitch there. I just shut down. I don't know how much wine you've had already.
Can everyone? Oh, I'm still here. Can everyone else hear the disturbance? Is it coming through okay for everyone else? I'm going to try and move my phone. I'm running this off phone, but the internet connection, so maybe it's that. Hopefully not. Dave, do you want to just keep talking, mate? Just keep the story going, and if it's all fallen to bits, we can work it out from there. Wow, I wonder.
Much more to just, you know, my progression from that was into building.
Okay.
Can you? We back? Are you all right?
Yeah, cool. Carry on, mate.
After the Florist, I built my own special unicycle that I became quite well known for, which was made out of an aluminium ladder. So it's a homemade unicycle that's 10 foot high and with a wheel on the bottom. And I made it specifically because it was easier to get on, because it was a ladder. But that's what I did for the next kind of 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, but it looks striking. It's a beautiful thing, that ladder unicycle. It just looks a little bit different. It's got these two properties of things you recognise. It must be because you've got to remember that for us, we'll look at that and to some extent we go, it's a unicycle. Yeah. But for people who are seeing it for the first time,
yeah, it's. Are you reading feedback there, or are you staring at my beard?
Yeah, me too as well. Everyone, should we try and reconnect? Is it that bad? How's everyone getting through here? It's just a long lag. It appears like it's just a long lag between us. I think. If you want to carry on for the moment, Dave, I'm happy listening anyway. I'm having a good time listening to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Because, you know, I can talk forever. I can just keep talking. What's happening? Talk to me.
Are we back into sync now? Are we in the same time? Can you hear me now? Because I'm wondering how long the lag is. Yeah. Okay. Oh my good. I think we were both sat there trying to judge the lag, and now we're back in time. Wonderful. So where were we at?
We were up to me having built the ladder unicycle and done a lot of circle shows.
Yeah.
And then I had a proper job for a while as a youth worker, which kind of led from community arts and to youth and community into youth. And then I took redundancy and came back with the puppet, which is the thing that I do now. And I still get gigs.
Yeah.
I still ride the unicycle, but I haven't actually ridden the ladder. I can't remember, but it's a good few years. I've never said I've given it up, but it's one of the things I would need to bring my fitness level back up in order to ride that. And I just really haven't had the time or the inclination to want to do that at this point.
And, you know, at some point you may spend the time to get back on there, but also if you know, people get older, everyone gets older. At some point we do stop doing particularly high things, you know.
Yes.
People do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love to see the progression of your work now. So now you've got this beautiful, well-constructed, playful, engaging, you know, act that you can work anywhere with. And you can go anywhere around Europe. It's so simple, you know, and it's great. It's great. It's evolution. No worries. So what do you see street performance as right now? So you've looked at the progression, you've seen what it was in the 80s, you see it now. Do you see it as a cesspool of, creative bankruptcy, or do you see it as still something beautiful and something to say? Do you see, what do you think of our street performance world if you're forced to talk about it?
Well, right now, it's non-existent, isn't it?
Well, at this specific moment, yeah.
All the street performance.
I saw a video of a guy playing guitar to crowds of people yesterday in a park in London. So there are people doing it.
Really?
Yeah, well, there is definitely person doing it. Okay. I've seen a video of one person.
Because the danger is at this time that if you go and try and do that, you get jumped on as being irresponsible. I mean, that's one of the main reasons.
Being responsible.
Sorry?
You might be being irresponsible, Our skill is gathering groups of people together. The thing we've honed over our lives is gathering groups of people, and that is a specific thing we should not be doing right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I'm absolutely sure our time will come again. There'll be a time when we emerge out of this. The fact that there are street performers back on the street will make people feel normal again, and they'll want to celebrate that. I think.
Well, yeah, maybe if we look at it in that way, us being back on the street is going to be something that can help reacclimatize people back to normal life, back to contacting each other and feeling comfortable again.
Well, I put a post up on Facebook about that just like a week ago, going that I actually think this, if we get back to being, I equated it with the amount of people that are giving up their time, the strength of community that seems to be happening all over the world, where people are giving up their time to help others, to shop for them, to do all of these things. And I think that if street performers can lower their expectations of what they're going to earn and raise their community, their sense of community, in terms of have the skills to make people feel all right about being outside again, and be all right about being in a crowd. We can communicate the fact that it's probably it's going to be all right now to be stood next to somebody that you don't know. The undoing of the social distancing that we're all doing. We're going to be able to do that better than any government announcement.
Agreed. And there is going to be that moment of having to say, look, we were normal for me, I was normal for 35 years. I've only been in quarantine.
I would question that.
Well, I've been in a society that has engaged in a similar kind of makeup in some way or another as I've been my entire life. We've gone out, we've met in public squares, we've talked, we've gone over people's homes. We've never lived in this state before, where we're kind of in isolation. At least in this country, from what I know my entire life, I've never lived in the state of thinking when I go outside that I have to be careful of permittable times and strict permittable times and activities. I have to justify being outside. The public, the commons, is not common at the moment. It's you have to justify your use of it, and that's going to be a strange thing going back to again. It's going to be an interesting thing to play with in public squares, to try and work around or comment on. Anyway, I'm ranting like I saw these things. Carry on, sorry.
Two observations I've made when I go out with the dog and I walk the dog, and I make a point in the park of some social distancing and other people social distance, but social distancing doesn't mean ignoring. Yeah, so I make a point of trying to catch people's eyes and say hello, as opposed to, and it's amazing how people don't react well to that and want to look down. I mean, there's a difference between being cautious with people because we don't know about this virus and treating everybody like they've got it. which is
Yes.
quite an interesting. That's quite an interesting observation. The other thing is, I was watching. Obviously, like the rest of the planet, I'm watching a lot of Netflix, and I caught myself watching something the other day and going, "Blimey, they're close together." Because I'm watching a program, they're like, "Oh my god, they're so close!"
And
So
you've
like,
got
they're all in the same.
2
They're
meters.
all in the same. They're all in the same car. They've only just met, and it's just it's so that happens so quickly that we've altered how we look at other people.
Well, I've said this before, chatting even a stream of consciousness in the first few videos or later chatting with other people, that I was, to begin with, telling jokes about how, the Black Death gave people work, gave us workers' rights, and trying to build crowds and doing something a week before the quarantine. When the quarantine broke out, I was stood on top of my roof shouting at people, respect the fucking quarantine.
Yeah.
I was, how you change. I was next to the canal, being in the boat, and the canal is the busiest place in London. People walking shoulder to shoulder like for 6 hours a day, and you just go, "Oh, guys, it's just we're doing the wrong thing here. We'll go out for a walk, but you've got to spread out."
It's been really interesting for me to see all of my kind of my radical rule breaker friends, suddenly get into, no, you must do what everyone's telling us.
Yeah, there is that dichotomy going.
We don't know what to rebel against anymore. We can't.
Well, I think there's a way to look at it in that dynamic, that dichotomy. But there's also the way of looking at it that these people are people who are used to the idea of us working together collectively. As much as people say that anarchists are people who don't know how to work together, they're people who meet up in groups and work together without anybody being the leader. It's very difficult to do. They have many mechanisms for attempting to work together. So this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That you say, well, no, collectively, this is the thing we have to do to keep everyone safe. We fucking do this. But then it's stuff because it's, there is left-wing, fundamental, fascistic kind of control of society as much as there is the right-wing side.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like we've drifted off the topic of street performance, which is okay.
No, we can get back to no, we're still on it because it's street performance is about essentially, and I think a lot of people, street performance is about communication and the management of people.
Yes.
So we're still on subject.
Yeah. I did have a moment in Germany. I know it's a silly fucking thing to think, but I had literally a pulpit of machetes made in this freak show, and I was standing on top of there doing this huge speech, gathering people together, and I just thought, yeah, this is quite a a fascistic activity to do in some way. The dynamic is fascistic, at least in some way. There's a tendency to, because you're gathering people together and saying, let me put your activity for the next however long, and your attention on me, and I am going to guide you through whatever's going on, and it will be better for you than if you didn't. That's the kind of the thing. But then you take control. You asking people to cheer, or even soliciting a cheer by doing a trick and moving or doing something funny. All of this is some form of influence over the audience. No?
I'm going to ponder that.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just an interesting thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not... Is it control? Because I don't think it's... They still have control. They still have... I mean, it's manipulation, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's... it's artful. I mean, that's, I mean, maybe... Oh, that was music.
Yeah, it's my notifications. I should be turning them off. I'm attempting to turn them off as I'm doing episodes by, but there's so many different notifications to get. Every episode, a different one manages to pop up. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'm really happy I don't see any of those notifications. I can just stare at a screen.
You made the right choices when you click. I just click on everything on buddy browsers and things.
All right. Okay.
So,
I mean,
if you had to wave a wand,
it goes
modern street performance. Carry on.
It goes back to the age-old question, and this is a question I do like to ponder, which is why on earth do people watch street performance?
They
What
watch
psychologically? Why do they stop? What are they? What are they? How do
uh,
we do
um,
it?
empathy. I think, I think when people watch you, you have to win them over first, and there's loads of different tactics and methodologies to win people over. But in the end, they've got to watch you and kind of put themselves in your head, feel emotively what's going on in your head, feel the drive to do that, and that connection to something which is so different.
Do you think they do
You
that?
know,
Or do they? I mean, because I think it's far more basic than that. I think there's people at the start of a street show, at the start of that relationship, they're either going, oh, oh let's just get it wrong and hurt himself. Yeah. Or they might go, or the other thing they might be doing is going, is it safe to watch this? Am I all right to watch this? Will I be, and not because they think you're going to hurt them, but is it going to be embarrassing? Am I going? What I'm risking is the fact that they're going to be awful, and I'm going to want to walk away, but everyone else will be walking away, and I'll hate to feel that kind of social awkwardness of having to do it, and that's why I think when you're building an edge and people stand far away, that's what they're working out on a very animal level. Is this going to be all right? Is this going to be one of those horrible moments, or is this, does this person look like they can? I'll be safe watching them. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I going to feel uncomfortable? Am I going to feel negative?
And then I think later in the performance that you get empathy, because actually, because the first thing they have to do is like you.
Yeah.
They have to like you. They have to, there has to be. I mean, maybe that's wrong. Maybe an audience full of people that are angry and want to see you fail is a very interesting starting point for a street show, but it's hard.
Do you believe it's possible? Because
easiest way.
Because when you look at villains in comedy and these kind of things, whenever you look at, for example, the anything but a fascistic kind of performance, fetish performances, people are watching it for all those kind of kinks. They're not watching it broadly for entertainment, so you can do different things.
Yeah.
But when you ask an audience, do you want to see blood? They say yes.
Yeah.
And then if you cut yourself open in front of them, they go no, because they don't want to see blood, but they want the sensation, the titillation of that.
They want
what I mean? So
they want the risk of it.
Yeah, but the inferred risk, because we don't do stuff that is really that dangerous. No. Riding unicycle is kind of dangerous. Ask Quinn. But is it really that dangerous when you see how many people ride unicycles and how few accidents there ever is?
It should.
Are we really that? Yeah.
What we do is meant to look dangerous without being. I mean, most of the people think it's dangerous because we tell them it's dangerous.
We simulate danger.
So that comes back to the relationship that we build with an audience, and that comes back to your empathy as to they have to. I think the relationship starts with the questions that they have about, are they going to be safe? Yeah. And then it comes into liking you. Yeah, and then it becomes empathetic, where they are wanting you to succeed because they like you. Yeah, and a good street performer will be able to manipulate, not control, manipulate that out of them. I think one of the reasons that as a circle show I would often get paid is because I'm not working on pitches where, like, if you were Covent Garden and you've gone as a tourist or a resident of London, you're going to Covent Garden, you're probably expecting to see street shows. But a lot of regional pitches, you're out shopping or you're on a day out, you're not necessarily expecting to see a street show. And those were my favourite audiences because they were accidentally an audience. Yeah. And I think that people judged me at the end as they're putting money in the hat, not because I did something dangerous, because I was able to do something. They'll go, I counted to 3. I got involved. I did all the participation. I'm the sort of person that never does that. And that person actually got me to do that. So they must be good. regardless of whether I could ride a unicycle or juggle, because my juggling is so really.
People want to be entertained. They're not looking for an athlete. It's not athletic.
Absolutely.
You know, people who are into athletics are athletes, and families of athletes. They go to watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
You're watching someone try and achieve something, okay? But when people stop and watch a show, they want to be entertained.
I think, and deep down, they want to see somebody succeed, and they want to witness that success. Unless they're other street performers, and then they just want to see you die on your ass.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Come on.
I mean, I have gone to shows where I know they're going to die and watched it and been like, "Oh, I feel you," and it's been entertaining. It's Shrine and Foider exists, but I prefer nowadays I'm desperate to see something interesting. I've done it for nearly 15 years now.
Yeah.
And when I see someone do something I haven't seen before, it's just the biggest joy I ever feel. Really do, and you can see how you get these insular little community, but cult people who do this interesting work because you yearn for that.
I know what you mean, but then what I'm talking about is the relationship and the performer, not what they do. Yeah. So I can still see people doing juggling on a tall unicycle, and if they are interesting and they are a good performer, that's good enough for me. Yeah, because people don't watch what you.
One of my favourite shows, Pete Dobbing, he's a ladder walker. He walks a ladder, he juggles machetes. It's not technically an amazing feat in any way within the knowledge of shows. It takes a bit of practice, but it takes a bit of practice. What he has is the thing you're talking about. He has, superhero levels of rapport. Yeah. People love him just because of the way he talks and the way the words roll out of his mouth and his character and his affability. His earnestness about the stuff he does.
He's old school, new school.
Yeah. So, what difference do you see in the old school to the new school, apart from just the structure? Do you see anything else? And do you have examples of people, tenants, who show same and different things, possibly?
I think it's, Pete's a good example. Old school and new school is that ability to cope with anything. Yeah. I think a lot of the new school are so structured in their performance as to, writing scripts and which line goes where and what their timing is, that sometimes they miss the opportunities that are arising in front of them. They lose their ability to play.
I think they don't see it as a medium for that. They see it as a space which, as much as possible, has to be sterile, so I can deliver this thing.
Absolutely, and it's also I think it's what happens when people bring a show that they would do in for a booking or in a gig and put it on the street and do that show. Yeah, I absolutely believe that street shows are an art form in their own right, and things that work in the street very often die on their ass somewhere else, and things that you can't just lift something off a stage or off an arena performance and put it in the street and expect it to work. Yeah.
Well, you've seen people turn up with nice costumes and fail.
It's not the costume. I like to think I have a nice costume.
I don't mean that a nice costume makes you a bad performer, but I mean that people tend to come from the cabaret world because you have to be aesthetically prepared there. You have to sell yourself because you have to get through the gatekeepers. There's gatekeepers in cabaret, bookers. So you have to communicate to them. And so people prepare how they appear. Whereas on the street, you don't have to get bookers. You can just, as long as you can get a crowd, you can look like shit. I intentionally have a suit that looks like I'm kind of down and out.
And how many times have we talked about this?
Yeah.
because I go completely against that. I always try. It's not. The puppet's slightly different, but as a circle show, I make the effort and I look smart. because I don't want to look. I used to have this thing where you got to look like the quality of donation that you want in a hat, and I want to look smart. And costume in the street is a really, really difficult thing. It's a really difficult lesson to learn, and I tell you who taught me, and I don't know how they taught me. I'm not sure if I could even explain it, but it was Alex Dandridge and John Feely. I was living in a truck on Henrietta Street in Covent Garden doing solo shows, and every day I'd have a different costume because I'd be trying things out, and I'd come out of the van with me unicycle and me props, you know, and I'd run into John and Alex and they'd go, "Ooh, no." I'd have to go and get changed, and then I'd try something else, and they go, "Yeah, well, yeah, that would, you know, that works." And it's just there's just something about the street costume.
This supportive environment, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it wasn't all supportive in Covent Garden in those days, I have to say.
Let's hear it. Come on, let's hear the stories.
No, I think there was a real element in the late 80s there was more and more people coming to work in Covent Garden, and there was a kind of an element within it where you kind of, when as a new performer you'd arrive and people would treat you like shit, in the hope that you'd
leave,
you'd give up and go somewhere else, and then there'd be one less person on the pitch. But if you didn't give up and you stayed there and you worked, they'd remember you forever. You could turn up 3 years later and they'd know who you were. There was a whole culture of put downs. You constantly beckon somebody. You put somebody.
Let's hear some examples. Come on.
I'm not sure I've got any examples because I tried wherever possible not to participate in that.
Yes,
I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't put. You know, I do. I can have banter, and sometimes I can say a line for the moment and for the comedy, and then go, "Oh, that might have been hurtful. I don't want to do that." You know, and very often I go back and say, "I'll go," because I'm an overthinker. You know, so I'll go back and say, "You know, when I said that, and then you said that, and I said that, and I didn't mean," and they'll go, "What are you talking about?"
Well, yeah.
It'll be 3 months later, and I'll still be thinking about it. Yeah, but that's who I am. No, I can't. I'm not going to cite examples. You know, but I mean, people that were there at that time will know exactly what I'm talking about, and they will they'll recognise it, and they'll probably think I'm wise to not cite examples. You know, but there was a culture that it wasn't. I mean, it was always supportive. There was always people that would support, and show you stuff and teach you stuff. But there was also an element of give them a hard time when they first arrived.
Is it, for example, like Melvin gave me a hard time when I started? He'd walk into my show and he'd laugh in my face and then set up like 200 meters away and put his music on full volume and try and break my show. And he did that up until the point where I broke his show, and then he stopped doing it. And then he was just like sound, you know, no more problems ever. But it had to get to the point. Should that be something which happens on pitches? You know,
not pitches I want to work on
nowadays. Still, you know, because we are having that moment where there is resurgence on pitches, and there are people who want to put in limits on the way you can use the pitches and say, well, you've got to be this good, you have to have this much of a show. What do you think?
I will always defend anybody's right to be crap in the street, you know, because it's this street. That's the art form, and you get better, or you go and do something else. And to, you know, the only way you raise standards in the art form is to allow people to continue to work. And if people are taking prime, I don't know, if people are taking prime spots and dying on their ass all the time, then maybe the community can have a supportive word with them, you know, not ban them from a pitch, but just, you know, if you want to be part of this community, then by doing that constantly, you've got to work the prime spots to learn, yeah? But to work the prime spot every day at the best time and not be doing anything. But I'm also old school. I mean, a lot of places have a lineup and a list and a draw. I'm old school. You first come, first served. You get there early. Yeah. If you don't
Are
like the
you
show you're
against the idea of
getting,
busy places having draws or lineups?
sorry, say that again.
Are you against the idea of, because it seemed like you were against the idea of having draws or lineups at places. For you, do you think it all should be you go there, you use it till you're done, and then some other fucker can use it when you leave?
No, I'm in favour of every pitch working based on what the people working the pitch want.
Yeah.
So if the system, if the the way that the pitch I use most is obviously Chester, and at the moment there's very few circle shows working Chester. Did you hear that, everybody? There's very few circle shows. Come to Chester, because that's how I've never hidden Chester. It's a lovely pitch, and if there's so many people working Chester regularly that they all decide that there's a better way for it to be worked, and I get voted out as to what my opinions are, then that's fine, because that's democracy and that's how pitches should work. Yeah. But and then if I'm really not happy with that, as the way that's working, I can go and find another pitch somewhere else. This is the thing that so many street performers miss, is that it is the perfect vehicle to travel with. And if you're just treating it like a 9-to-5 job and getting up and going to the pitch that you work every day and doing as many shows as you can and then going home, you're missing a whole kind of raft of stuff that you could be doing, a whole group of people, a whole other audiences, you know. So yeah, I mean, I made a decision in the early 90s, I think it was, that I didn't want to be working Covent Garden all the time, and I went and found other pitches, and I still go back and I do weekend, and people still remember me, which is nice. But there's plenty of pitches out there. If you don't like the way that your pitch is working, and you can't communicate or convince other people working the pitch that it could be better, go find another pitch. It's the street. There's lots of streets out there.
So I suppose the next one to talk about this would be licensing then. What are your thoughts on licensing places? I mean, I kind of know your thoughts. I'm sure everyone can imagine what your thoughts are, but nonetheless, what do you think about it?
I'm completely against licensing. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, maybe I should clarify that. Because Covent Garden essentially has a license. Covent Garden holds an agreement with Westminster to run the West Piazza pitch. But the licensing system is run by performers, and any changes to that system and any penalties are talked on and voted on by the performers, and they are the artists, and they understand. And people in the council don't, and managements of shopping centres don't understand. And I'm not naive. I know that everybody has to have, that everyone's a stakeholder and everyone can communicate that. But I will, and have done for years, defended against the need for a license, a permission as an artist to be able to do something in a public space. And I think there's many reasons why people, reasons why people complain about what it is that we do, and some of them are noise. That's the obvious one. Is people are going, well, it's too noisy. But mostly, I think it's a judgment on the way that we have chosen to earn a living, that they feel threatened by in some way. It's kind of like what I call proper job syndrome. That is not a job. And by you doing that as a job, that threatens me because I've chosen to do a proper job. Yeah. And instantly people go, well, they're getting away with something. They're getting away with something for not, be paying any tax. And looks at individuals I don't walk into a shop and know whether the person running the shop is paying their tax or not. So why does anybody else have a right to do that to me just because I'm doing a job that they don't recognise as being a job?
Yeah, yeah,
Does that
I
make
agree.
sense? Read us, aren't you?
My thing I always turn around and say when people say get a real job is I say, well, what do you do? Sell shoes. I mean, everyone's got shoes.
Yeah.
We can only have one shoe shop. There's 10. Does your job really have that much purpose? That whole mindset is a legacy thing from when we had socialism, where you were working for the betterment of everybody. You were working in industries that fed the collective industry that we had as a country. So when you could say get a real job, what you meant was, do something that benefits everyone, not just yourself. But we got rid of socialism as a driving ideology in this country a long time ago. But that saying has still lingered on for things that people feel are illegitimate.
Yeah. I don't want a proper job. I had one once. It wasn't for me.
Well, when they mean that, they mean work for someone else as well, don't they? And it's like, really give my labour to make someone else wealthy. There's very, very few causes that are worth that. There are, but there are very few. And unfortunately, I'm underqualified for the majority of them. So maybe talking to strangers in the street and trying to be interesting and, pass on something, just a little brief part of their memory, is worth something. Well, clearly not essential.
Yeah. Yes. It's really funny how so many jobs have discovered that they're not as essential as they thought they were.
Yeah, don't need you anymore.
Yeah, traffic wardens in Chester are perfect examples. Suddenly they're
not here. Yeah, I said earlier on, the traffic wardens are out in force. People were complaining to them. They're like, really, now? You're going to give me a ticket now?
It's in Chester, the people delivering takeaways on a bicycle are more essential than traffic wardens.
Yeah. Well, it's true. That's the problem. It is true. If we're going to keep people alive with their basic needs, street performance is not one of them. Neither is sportswear. Although it seems like sportswear definitely is at this moment. I think 300 joggers go past here every 10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah,
it's fucking incredible. And
I
think you can see with some people, they're thinking, this is how I fight the virus. Is I am going to make myself fit as fuck. I'm just going to run and become a, physical powerhouse. And then that means the virus will do fuck all to me. Which is good.
There's an element of that,
Yeah, it's true. But they're also spreading the virus.
Well, depending on what they're touching and depending on who they're coughing over as they run, yeah.
Well, the breathing
Yeah. Yeah, it's much different in an inner city, definitely.
So I was told to ask you about a group called the Effalumps.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Who told you that?
A friend I've mentioned previously in our chat. I was asked not to mention his name, so I won't. So I'll just infer to what he was. He was around when he began. And he said that, ask him about the Effalumps. I'm giving the inside spec here, mate. Ask him about the Effalumps. And so, and John Feely. But you mentioned John Feely, so I wasn't going to mention that as much. So tell me about the Effalumps.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. So the florists was Sean Gandini and John Feely, myself, and Mark Digby. Yeah. And all the time, people go up to Alex Dandridge and say, I loved you in the florists. He was never in the florists. Yeah, but they mistake him being in the florists. Okay. So I was never in the Heffalumps. It's nothing to do with
that. Okay. Really? I thought he said he went out and played an instrument, but maybe he's convoluting the two things.
Never. Was never there. The Heffalumps was Alex Dandridge.
Yep.
Noel Britton.
Yeah.
Andre and Peter Post, I believe.
And what sort of stuff do they do then?
I don't know. I never saw them. So maybe the person that you're talking about was referring to the florists, or maybe because we both knew who we're talking about, he's just completely stitched you up.
Maybe he's watching right now. So either way, at this moment, he's either swearing at the screen because he's realised he's fucked it up, or he's laughing because he's stitched me up.
I think he's laughing, but we can get our own back because I've got his entire show in this little box here. Look, we can just go. It's just a little box full of sound effects. So
really,
yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. That's all we need to be.
He doesn't use them anymore now. You know, now in the midday, if we know the same guy we're talking about, he operates off what he would describe as reality and what appears to be quite like, you know, he's built on venom.
I know. I don't know why we're not naming him. But
he's going to be in an interview at some point. He will be on it. He's told me he's going to do an interview with me, but his internet isn't working that well. He can only watch stuff. He can't broadcast. So I said as soon as it kind of calms down,
go on record
and do an interview with him.
I'll go on record of saying what a fantastic person he is, and as well as being a dick. And
yeah. What he is, both those things, you know.
Yeah. He'll probably mess it. If my phone goes ping, it's him.
Yeah. You can't.
Yeah.
So, would you like to stay for longer? Do you have more things you want to do? We've reached an hour. We can go longer if you want.
Oh, I don't know. It depends if you've got more stuff to ask me. I mean, the dog's gone to bed.
Fair enough.
Bless him. We could. I don't know what else. I mean, are people watching it? Are people feeding back? Is any of this stuff?
There's 10 people watching it live now, and we get about 200 to 500 people watching the videos after they go out. Yeah, I mean, most of them are probably going past it and going, "This is shit," and then going off after a minute long. But you know, we're getting those people, so you know, maybe they'll drop back in at some point.
But you know, if we got 10 people, that's a healthy edge. We could build from that.
Yeah. Well, crowd build. I'll be honest. Crowd building online sucks ass.
Do you take questions from the 10? You know, are there people?
Yeah. Well, you've got comments on the side, so you can see the comments here. These people have chatted through the chat we've had, and they've asked some questions. A lot of them are saying like no sound when we're glitching up. It's actually working very well at the moment. During a lot of the interview, what you'd have is you have moments where it'd be at least from my connection. So maybe part of it was that. But you know, some interesting questions up here. There's people chatting with each other.
That's nice. I like that.
Paddy Bramwell says, "Keep talking, Dave."
Oh, bless him. How is he?
Maybe even still online, he might answer. It's about a 30-second delay, which is why we don't work off him a lot of the time.
Okay.
So you ask a question, then you'll get something in about 30 seconds time.
See, Paddy knows. Paddy knows what I'm talking about. He's an old school street performer.
I thought Paddy should. As I was first beginning in the South Bank to do circle shows. And so when I was originally doing shows, I just did contact, 10 minutes. I was one of those kind of tumours that form on the side of circle shows where I could build a big crowd very quickly, hit 10-minute drop, and the other circle shows would get a slower build. And in the end, someone came up to me and said, "Look, start queuing with us now." So I was like, all right, fair enough. And it was a shock to the system because I was doing all day long, like, you know, 6 hours, 7 hours of just in between circle shows. I wouldn't go when they were on. I'd just wait till they finish. I'd probably get a little bit of their break, but it didn't matter. There was a busy place. And I'd take 10 minutes before they could really pick up again. And so when they told me to go on, I did 12 shows in a day, and then I went down to 1 show in a day or 2 shows a day. And it was a good thing. It was a good thing for me. It really forced me to think about what a show is, build a show, form something that's entertaining over a larger duration rather than, you know, 8 minutes of actual show, 5 minutes of actual show, where you can just do tricks cycled together with pump and do nothing at all in terms of entertainment. You can be an athlete in 5 to 8 minutes, you know, I think. But I think over 40 minutes, you can't be athletic. You can't just rely on athletics unless you're like Marcel, you know, the Ghanaian buddy guy. who just walks on his hands for half an hour up and down things and does flips through people's body. Even he has breaks and form and structure to the show to make it function over that longer form. Yeah, I don't know what question could be had of that. I was just musing on that point. I don't know what you think about it.
I don't know. I was musing on Paddy Bremmels because he is a great example of the as a master. He's a master at building that relationship with the audience. His solo show was not a skills show. He didn't juggle, yeah. And he would. I mean, I've never seen. Now, let me clarify that statement. Paddy, I've seen some of the biggest crowds I've ever seen a street performer got by Paddy in Edinburgh, where he used to start out on the piazza in front of the art gallery, build an edge, and then say, "Follow me," and the entire audience would walk with him round behind the art gallery, and he'd sit them down on the grass bank, and then he'd keep working, and he'd build and build and build until there's like, I mean, certainly 500 people, maybe more, sat on that grass bank. And he's doing a show. He's not on anything tall. He's not juggling anything. He's not doing anything. It's a magic trick. It's like two magic tricks. Sorry, Paddy. 2 magic tricks. Yeah. Phenomenal.
I was very impressed when I saw him. You know, the energy he had, and the vibrancy and the sort of the force that he was at the audience. And he was really amusing, really good lines. He killed it. You know, he walked off and I told him, I turned around and said, "Mate, really good lines. That was fucking amazing." And he told me, "Yeah, they're my fucking lines."
They're mine. Of course he did. Of course he did. They're mine. Don't you steal them. Yeah. And also, I'll go out on a limb there and say that he wasn't working with an amplifier.
No, he wasn't. He just went there and just did the chat. I think
because
it was a long time ago.
Because you train your voice. You know, that's what we did. We trained our voice. You know, and that's the thing that you miss by being a circle show and using a microphone, is that everything that you're saying comes out of this one spot here. Yeah, and as a circle show, I want to say things that only this group hear. Yeah, that this group doesn't hear. Yeah, because I'm building that group. I'm building an individual relationship with each of these people, and then little groups, and then building them into a whole audience. Yeah, and I can't do that if all of my sound is coming out of one point, because everybody can hear everything that I'm saying.
Yes.
Back to Pete Dobbin, who's really good at doing that, because I've seen him work without a mic and I've seen him work with a mic, but he puts his hand over his mic and says things to these people and then puts it back. He's learnt that lesson. Yeah. Also, the greatest person I've ever seen working in the rain. Oh, my Lord.
Very, very good. Very, very good. He's just very good at working anytime. He's comfortable out there. He's confident. He knows how to work the show he does. Perhaps better than anybody I've seen do a show. He's solid, you know? Which is testament. And he's got original bits. He's not a hack. There's not really any hack in his show at all, you know? Which is great.
Yeah. All one relationship. You should talk to Paddy. You should get him in.
Yeah, man. I'm more than happy if Paddy wants to talk. I'll give him a message. What do you think is the difference? Do you think there's a better thing for people like Rumpold who fail, your clowns? Because they earn fuck all money. He earns a reasonable living. He's capable of doing what he does.
Yeah.
But people do enjoy it to a similar degree. What do you think about that? The
I don't know. It's the old thing. People don't pay for funny.
Yeah, they really don't. You know, over and over again and all these things. If you're young street performer, being funny is the goal we all fucking want to do, but it doesn't necessarily get you fucking paid. You could be the funniest stuff in the world, and if you don't have a properly formed finish to your show, you will make a tenth of what people make who have these properly formed finishes that are structurally developed.
But then it's back to what do you want to do? What you know? is being a street performer just a commercial thing about making the most possible money, or is it about?
Yeah.
I mean, the puppet doesn't make a huge amount of money. I could absolutely make more money by riding a unicycle and juggling fire, but that's not what I want
Yeah.
to do. I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying exploring what I can do with this puppet, and I've got many ideas. I mean, at this very moment, I'm meant to be, somewhere sunny in Portugal or south of Spain, working up a 20-minute circle show with the puppet, where the puppet is the finale of the show, and it's me as a character. And I'm very glad that I'm not locked down somewhere else in the world. But I'm happy that I'm here. But that was my plan. So it's because I'm not looking. If you're out, I don't know. If you're out just to make money out of street performance, I think you're missing the point. I think there's a. I mean, not suggesting you should go out and do everything for free. That's not what I'm saying. Well, but if money is your prime motivation, if money is the performer's prime motivation, I think an audience will suss that out pretty. Either that, or you'll blow yourself out.
No, I think some people have done incredibly well from having money motivations. Some people are just great at selling stuff, and they sell the idea of giving them money because they did something impressive, and they vibe off making all that cash. Think about it. Some of the biggest shows are the people who are the most frugal, money careful people who manage their bloody assets.
Yeah, but they kind of tend to have a shelf life and move through. And end up doing something else, going into stand-up or theatre or something else. They tend not to have the longevity of this on the street, that they're still out there 20 years later. They might come back when it all dies on its ass somewhere else and have another go. But people tend to move into a street show, be in their peak for about 3 years, and then move on to something else.
Yeah,
that's kind of the life of a street show.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else about it for them, I've never done stand-up. I've never, I mean, I stopped taking. I do very few gigs. I really enjoy, as a circle show, I really enjoy people. You know it yourself at the end, where people come up and go, "I really enjoyed what you're doing there." I might have some work for you, or I might have some gigs, and they want to give you a card, and they want to, and it's really lovely to just say, "I'm sorry, I don't do gigs," and they go, "What? I don't do bookings. I just do the street."
Oh,
and
wow!
It really confuses them.
I jump on them like a hawk as soon as they're offered like that.
No, it really confuses them. It's good fun to do. Turn down people. It gives you such an elevation. Makes you feel good about yourself.
I mean, not that I haven't intentionally scuppered certain things, because I've just thought, well, I can't be fucked with this, So he's just like, nah. But you have the pleasure of doing that in a street show. You can walk off the pitch. You can look at your crowd, and I very rarely ever do this now, but I did at some points look at my crowd and just think, yeah, you think I'm shit. And at this moment, I think you're shit. And just walk off. And I didn't kind of say that outright then. But that was the drive of it. It was just, fuck you people. It's a street show. I can walk off. I don't have to do it.
I've bailed. Of course I've bailed shows. I've bailed shows, but I've never walked off a pitch going, fuck you people. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I've bailed shows. Not recently, as I say. It's for the last 5 years, I've done it a lot less. I've become more comfortable in my own skin out there. But I've been out there before when I've looked at people during shows in the time I've done this, and I've thought, yeah, fuck you people. I don't like you either. And I didn't say that. I just say, well, thank you very much. I hope you have a good time, and walk off. And when people go, what are you doing? I go, this is a street show. I can walk off. You haven't paid me anything. Go. Yeah. And, it was, for me, it was my power. It was me holding power over the moment. You might not like me, and I've realized this is dynamic, that you're watching me because you don't like me. You want me to fail. Maybe I was paranoid. I don't know, but this was the feeling I was having from a crowd. And I definitely think with the character I play, I can develop that in a crowd. If I fuck up and do this kind of thing slightly off tone. And so as my way of keeping power in the situation, I'd walk off before they did. Instead of them watching and me dying and them slowly walking off, I'd just kill it. Dead, bang.
You see, I've bailed many shows, but I would always walk off with the with the feeling that I got that wrong, and that's why I couldn't make that happen, and it was my fault for not being able to make that happen. I don't think I've ever, and I suppose that kind of got ingrained in me because I've seen people in Covent Garden do it when people are blaming the audience for a show going wrong.
Yeah.
And I never liked it. It just felt like an ugly energy.
No, I agree, and I've done it at points. And to be honest, occasionally I might still be able to be tempted to do it to this day, but if I do it now, I don't do it in a genuine, disappointed, horrible tone. I will playfully, kind of suggest and be. I think the problem is, if you're really annoyed about what's going on, if you're frustrated, because you know that if people would be a little bit more compliant, you could create a good atmosphere that they'd all have a good time in. And it's their cynicism or judgmentalness of you that you can't seem to push past, stopping that from happening. And oh, sorry, I've lost my point, mate. Carry on, take it from here. I'm a bottle and a half into the wine at this moment, and crack on.
Right, my tea's gone cold. Look.
Oh, you should have a wine, mate. It's good, warm or cold.
You see this? I'm teetotal. Always have been.
Fair enough.
I'm one of the few street performers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm at the moment only drinking during podcasts, during this Whining On thing, and it's because I did it as a gimmick, and I thought I was going to do it once a week. That's how I started doing it, and I built this thing as a gimmick.
7 nights a week now.
Oh man! Like, I built it as a gimmick where I did it once a week and it was manageable, and then it's 3 days a week, and I woke up today hungover. I was like, I can't fucking keep this up. And then I did the set list that I arranged for this week, trying to be productive while people are in, chuck lots of things out while people have fucking nothing to do. And so it's like 6 days a week. It's not sustainable. I can't drink a bottle of wine every single night. I hardly ever drink. I'm not a drinker, I smoke, but not really drink.
Right.
I drink once a month, So,
you know what they do in theatre? They replace the wine with like elderflower, and so it looked like wine.
I'm doing method,
Method, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got literally every bottle that we've drank so far. I've collected here.
Wow.
And we've been on for just over a week. We've got this, which I haven't drank yet, which is from the food bank of all places.
Wow.
It's a Moscato.
That is. Well, I'm sorry. What area of London? Who donates wine to a food bank?
Oh, that's people do. I got this cheap number, which was clearly homemade.
Yes.
From the food bank. So I'm not moaning, I was in.
No, I think that's brilliant.
And so I haven't drank the sweet wine yet because I have a feeling sweet wine to drink to get drunk is going to be fucking horrendous.
So, come here. I'm getting the dog in the shot. Come here. Up. Oh, look. There we go. Look. There we go. Who's that? Who's it? Oh, look. Who's it? Yes, this will get your ratings up. Get a couple of dogs on.
Thanks.
It's tricky.
I don't think you can see. I mean, I watch them watch screens sometimes, and I have once in my lifetime witnessed a dog bark at another dog on a screen, and it was clear that it knew it was a dog. It was like, "Fuck you! Get the fuck out of my house! Fuck you!" You could see it tracked it on the screen. I've seen that, but apparently they can't see screens. So
no, I don't. Very occasionally he watches television, and it's really funny.
If he's bored and I'm watching stuff, I'll occasionally see him staring at it, but it doesn't seem like he's cognizant of what's going on. I think he's just copying what I'm doing. That's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sat in my garage and I'm getting cold now.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. So
I'm going to draw it to a close.
Yeah, do it, mate. It's been a pleasure chatting. Thank you.
Yes.
Dave, is there anything you want to say to people before we go off?
Oh, well, just thank you for watching. I hope it wasn't too tedious to hear me talking about the old days and giving opinions. But oh, Pepe's seen a biscuit on the table. But yeah, stay safe. And remember, when you're back out there after this is all over and you see somebody busking, we really need your help now.
Yeah, definitely. And people are going out busking. Let's help each other. You know, it's going to be an interesting time when we go back. It's going to be a new beginning to the public space. So, Dave.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, catch you later, brother. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.